My name is Barbara, and at 27 years old, my brother offered to help me move. When I got to my new place, I found out he had already taken the apartment for himself. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. I stood in front of the apartment building, gripping my suitcase, my heart pounding with excitement. This was it after months of searching, weeks of planning, and way too many headaches with paperwork. I had finally found the perfect place, and Jake had been so helpful through it all. When I first told him I was moving back to the city, he had been surprisingly enthusiastic. "That's awesome, ma'am. You need help with anything?" It caught me off guard. Jake wasn't exactly the reliable type. He was the kind of brother who forgot birthdays, bailed on plans, and somehow always needed help, but never gave it in return. But this time he had stepped up. He had offered to check out the apartment for me, since I was still finishing my notice at my old job. He had even helped with the lease paperwork, making sure everything was handled before I officially moved. "You're gonna love this place," he had told me just a few weeks ago. "Seriously, it's perfect for you." And I had believed him. I rolled my suitcase inside, buzzing with anticipation. Jake had picked up the keys for me, so he was already here. He had promised to help unload my stuff. Get me settled, I made my way up the stairs. Stopping in front of what was supposed to be my new apartment, I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Jake. I heard footsteps a moment later. The door swung open and there he was, Jake standing in the doorway. His hair was messy, like he had just rolled out of bed. He was wearing sweats and a t-shirt comfortable. Too comfortable, like he lived here. My stomach twisted. "Hey, what's going on?" Jake scratched the back of his head. "Oh, hey, amnesia." I frowned. "Where's my stuff?" He hesitated. That 1 second of hesitation told me everything. Something was wrong. I took a step forward, looking past him, and that's when I saw it. Box is not mine, his. His laptop was open on the kitchen counter. His jacket was draped over a chair. There were half-empty water bottles on the coffee table. Jake hadn't just helped me move. He had moved in. I slowly turned back to him, my hands curling into fists. "Jake, what is this?" He let out an awkward laugh. "Yes, so, about that, a sharp, sick feeling settled in my stomach. Oh, no way you took my apartment," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Jake had the nerve to look guilty. "I mean, kinda." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, kinda. Jake sighed. "Look, I was looking for a place too, and you were still figuring things out. So I signed the lease." I snapped. He raised his hands like I was overreacting. "Yeah, but I talked to the landlord, and he said it was still flexible, and I was already here." So you took it?" He winced. "Well, yeah." I stared at him, disbelief crashing over me in waves. I had spent weeks planning for this move. This was supposed to be my home, and Jake had just taken it like it was nothing. "Jake," I said slowly, my voice shaking, "tell me this is a joke." He sighed again, rubbing his temples, like I was the one making this difficult. "Look, it's not a big deal. You'll find another place." My jaw clenched. "Not a big deal." He shrugged. "Come on. You weren't 100% sure about moving yet, right?" I almost lost it right there. "Are you kidding me? I told you I was moving. I packed up my life. I quit my job. I'm literally standing here with my suitcase." Jake had the audacity to shrug again. "Yeah, but you always overthink stuff. I figured you'd change your mind. And I really needed a place. So I just made the decision easier for you." I stared at him, my whole body trembling. He really thought he could justify this. He really thought he had done me a favor. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "You knew this was my apartment. You knew I was moving in. And instead of helping me like you promised, you just took it." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Come on, it's not like that." "Then what is it like? I figured you'd understand," he said, giving me that same smug little grin he always used to get out of trouble. "I mean, you're always the responsible one. You'll land on your feet." I couldn't believe this. Jake had lied to me. He had manipulated the situation. And now, he was acting like I was the one being unreasonable. "You knew I wanted this place," I said through clenched teeth. I needed it more. The words hit me like a slap. Jake had always needed things more. When we were kids, if he broke something, I was the one who had to share. If he was struggling in school, I was the one who had to tutor him. If he didn't have money, I was the one who had to lend it. No, now he had taken my home. I took a shaky breath, my nails digging into my palms. "Jake," I said, my voice dangerously quiet, "you have 10 seconds to explain to me why I shouldn't walk out of here and call the landlord right now." Jake's expression faltered. "Hey, come here. Don't be dramatic." I turned on my heel. "Wait," he called after me. But I was done listening. I stormed out of the building, my heart pounding. I had trusted him. I had believed him, and he had stabbed me in the back. I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking, and dialed the landlord's number. Jake had messed with the wrong sister. I stormed out of the building, my pulse hammering in my ears. As I pressed my phone against my ear, the call rang twice before a voice answered. "Mr. Davis speaking. Hi." Mr. Davis, this is Barbara Carter. I'm supposed to be moving into apartment 4B today. But when I got here, I found out my brother has already taken it. Can you explain to me what happened? A long pause. I could practically hear the tension through the phone. Oh, Barbara. I was actually wondering when I'd hear from you. That told me everything. I stopped walking, gripping my phone tighter. So you knew about this? Your brother reached out a few weeks ago, Mr. Davis admitted. He told me you were reconsidering the lease, and that he was interested in taking over, if you backed out, since I hadn't received final confirmation from you. And he was already in town. I closed my eyes, trying to contain my rage. I never backed out, I said sharply. Jake told you that without asking me. I signed the lease. That apartment was mine. I understand that now, Mr. Davis said quickly, his voice suddenly nervous. But Jake, well, he was very persistent. He showed up, said he had the funds ready. And he told me you weren't sure yet. I had no reason to believe he was lying. Of course, Jake had manipulated the situation. It was what he did best, Mr. Davis, I said, exhaling through my nose. I don't know what Jake told you, but I was always planning to move in today. He knew that he took advantage of my trust and stole my apartment right out from under me. Look, Barbara, I don't want to be involved in family matters, but the lease is already signed in his name, now legally. There's not much I can do unless he chooses to leave. I felt my stomach drop, so that's it. I'm just out of luck. Pause. I can put you on the wait list for another unit. If one opens up, my grip tightened around my phone. That's not the same thing. I planned for this place. I moved my whole life around for it. I'm sorry, Barbara. I really am. But it didn't matter because the damage was done. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. I had spent my entire life covering for Jake. But this was a new low. I walked aimlessly down the street, trying to clear my thoughts. My suitcase rolled noisily behind me, a reminder of how homeless I now was. I had trusted him. I had let him handle something important, thinking for once that he wouldn't take advantage of me. But Jake never changed. And suddenly, I wasn't just thinking about the apartment. I was thinking about every other time I had let him get away with things. Growing up, I had been the responsible one, the one who followed the rules, the one who cleaned up messes, the one who never needed help. Jake, on the other hand, had been the charismatic troublemaker, the kind of kid who could break a window and somehow get away with it. And our parents, they always defended him. Barbara, you're older. You should know better. Jake doesn't mean to cause trouble. He's still figuring things out. I had spent years hearing the same excuses. When we were little, he'd take my things without asking. And I was told to share because he's just a kid. When we were teenagers, he wrecked my first car by taking it without permission. And our parents helped cover for him. When we were in college, he borrowed money from me, constantly promising to pay me back. He never did, and every single time, I let it go because I was the big sister. Because I thought family was supposed to look out for each other. But no, I was standing in the middle of the street, suitcase in hand, because my own brother had stolen my home. And suddenly I realized something. Jake didn't just take my apartment. He took my trust. And I wasn't going to let him get away with it. I spun around and marched right back toward the apartment. Jake had messed with the wrong sister. When I reached the door, I banged on it hard. It took a minute, but finally Jake opened up. He blinked at me. Oh, you're back. I pushed past him into the apartment. Still looked like mine, except it wasn't. Not anymore. I turned to face him. Arms crossed. You have one chance to explain yourself. Jake sighed. And you're making this a bigger deal than it is. I laughed a cold, bitter laugh. Oh, really? 'Cause I just got off the phone with the landlord. You know, the one you lied to. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't lie. You just took something that wasn't yours. Look, I needed a place. And you weren't moving in right away. So you knew I was moving today. My voice was sharp, unforgiving. You knew I had everything planned. And instead of being my brother, instead of helping me, you took the one thing I was counting on. He had the nerve to roll his eyes. I don't get why you're so upset. You can find another place. I felt my blood boil. Do you even hear yourself, Jake? I trusted you. I thought for once you wouldn't screw me over. His jaw clenched. I didn't mean for it to be like this. Okay, I needed it more, that phrase. That one sentence that summed up our entire lives. Jake always needed things more, and I was always the one who had to sacrifice. Not this time. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. You know what? Keep it, enjoy your new place. But don't come running to me when you can't afford rent. Jake frowned. Wait, what? You heard me. I'm done, Jake. Done cleaning up after you. Done fixing your problems. Done letting you treat me like I'm disposable. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Something close to realization. Barbara, come on. He started, but I was already turning away. I didn't owe him anything anymore. I walked out of the apartment, my head held high, knowing one thing for certain. Jake had never faced real consequences. But that was about to change. I didn't look back. As I walked out of the apartment building, for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to be Jake's safety net. I had spent years being the responsible sibling, the one who always forgave, always fixed things, always picked up the pieces after Jake's latest mistake. But this time I was done, and I could already tell Jake wasn't used to that. By the time I reached the end of the block, my phone buzzed Jake. Come on, don't be like this. I didn't respond, I kept walking. A few minutes later, another text. Jake, look, I get why you're mad, okay? But it's not like you don't have other options. It's just an apartment, just an apartment. I let out a cold laugh. No, Jake. It wasn't just an apartment. It was a fresh start. It was something I had worked for. It was something I was excited about. Something that was supposed to be mine. And he had stolen it out from under me. Because as always, he thought his needs came first. But this time, he was going to learn that actions had consequences. I ignored his texts and kept walking, my mind racing with what to do next. I needed a plan. I needed a place to stay. At least temporarily, I called my friend Megan. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, how's the big move, Megan? I need a favor. She immediately picked up on the urgency in my voice. What's wrong? I exhaled. My jaw tightening, Jake stole my apartment. Silence, then he what? I quickly filled her in, my voice shaking slightly as I replayed everything. Megan didn't even hesitate. Come stay with me for as long as you need. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Thank you, are you okay? She asked, her voice softer now. I wasn't, not really. But I would be. I will be. I said the next few days were weird. I stayed at Megan's place while I started looking for a new apartment, and I ignored every single one of Jake's texts. At first they were casual. Jake, are you still mad, Jake? I feel like you're blowing this out of proportion. Then, after a day of silence, they turned defensive, Jake. You're seriously gonna ignore me over this, Jake? It's not like I ruined your life, then, Jake. You'll find another place you always land on your feet. That last one made me grip my phone so hard. My knuckles turned white, that was the problem. Wasn't it? Jake knew I would land on my feet as I always had, as I never let myself fall, as I had spent my whole life cleaning up messes. His messes, but this time he was on his own. I didn't answer. And then after 3 days of complete silence, he called. I stared at the screen, watching his name flash. For a second, I almost ignored it. Then at the last moment, I answered. I didn't say anything, neither did he. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Finally, he spoke. Barbara, I messed up. I blinked, caught off guard. Jake never admitted when he was wrong ever. But I wasn't going to let him off easy. Yeah, I said. My voice flat, you did. Another pause, I didn't think it through. He continued, I really needed a place. And I convinced myself it was fine. Because I figured you'd be okay. I let out a bitter laugh because I always am right. He was silent. You stole my apartment, Jake. I said not a favor. Not something small. You took something that I had planned for, that I had looked forward to, that I was counting on, I know. His voice was quieter now. And now I feel like an idiot. Good, I snapped. Because you should more silence. I talked to Mom and Dad, he said finally. I stiffened and they said, I should fix this. I raised an eyebrow. Since when do you listen to them? He let out a short, humorless chuckle. Since you stopped talking to me. I inhaled slowly, my grip tightening on the phone. For the first time, I really heard it in his voice. Regret, guilt. Something Jake had never expressed before. I exhaled sharply. What do you want from me, Jake? Pause, then quietly. I want to make it right. I closed my eyes. Exhaustion crashing over me. You can't, I said. Not completely, I know. Another silence. But I can try the next day. Jake met me for coffee. I almost didn't go. Part of me was still furious. Part of me wanted to stay furious. But another part of me, the part that had spent years, hoping Jake would finally grow up, wanted to believe him, so I went. And for the first time in years, we had a real conversation. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, he said, but I don't want to be this person anymore, Em. I studied him, searching for a lie, but for the first time I didn't see one. You have to prove it, I said. He nodded, I know. And maybe, just maybe. He actually meant it. I sat across from Jake, staring into my untouched coffee. For years I had waited for this moment. For Jake to finally realize what he had done. To acknowledge that he had spent our entire lives, taking from me without ever giving anything back. But now that he was here sitting in front of me, saying the words I had always wanted to hear, I didn't know what to do with them. I don't want to be this person anymore. His voice was softer than I had ever heard it. No jokes, no excuses. Just Jake, finally facing the reality of what he had done. I wasn't sure if I believed him. Not yet, you have to prove it, I said, keeping my voice steady. Jake nodded, I know. But did he? Because the truth was, this wasn't just about the apartment. This was about years of him taking advantage of me. Years of him assuming I'd always fix things. Years of me making excuses for him, because I had wanted to believe he would grow up. But no, now. I wasn't going to let him back into my life, just because he finally felt bad. Jake, I need you to understand something, I said, looking him directly in the eye. This wasn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to call someone back. A mistake is losing your keys. You didn't accidentally steal my apartment. You made a choice. He flinched. But he didn't argue. You knew exactly what you were doing. I continued, and you thought you'd get away with it. Just like you always have. Jake swallowed hard, I know. And he hesitated, shaking his head. I don't know why I do this, Sam. I don't know why I always screw things up. I stared at him because you've never had to deal with the consequences before. His jaw tightened, but again. He didn't argue because he knew I was right. Our parents had always covered for him. They had always made me the responsible one, the one who had to understand. That Jake was just going through things. But that excuse didn't work anymore. I wasn't going to carry him through life. Not anymore, so what now? Jake asked hesitantly. I let out a slow breath. That's up to you, he frowned. What do you mean, I mean? I'm done fixing your messes. Jake looked down, nodding slightly. Yeah, I get that. I don't think you do, I said, my voice firm, because I'm not saying that to punish you. I'm saying it because I literally can't do this anymore. It's exhausting, Jake. You take and take. And I let you because you're my brother. But I can't be that person anymore. I have to take care of myself now. Jake exhaled, rubbing his temples. I don't know how to be different him. I softened slightly at that. Because at least now he was admitting it. Then figure it out, I said. Because I'm not going to tell you how to fix this. That's your job now, he looked up at me. Something shifting in his eyes. And for the first time. I thought maybe he actually would. I didn't hear from Jake for a couple of weeks. After that, I thought maybe that was it. That he had tried to apologize. Realized I wasn't going to let him off easy. And given up, and honestly, I had already decided that was fine. I wasn't waiting for him. I had found a new apartment. It wasn't as nice as the one he had stolen from me. But it was mine. I had started rebuilding my life without him in it. And then one afternoon, I got a text from Jake. Jake, I did something today. Not sure if it'll change anything. But I wanted you to know. I hesitated before responding me. What did you do, Jake? I told Mr. Davis I'm moving out. I stared at my phone, completely caught off guard. Me wait. What, Jake? I realized I don't actually deserve that place. And I don't want to live there knowing how I got it. So I found a different apartment. Signed a lease today, I blinked. Jake had moved on his own, without trying to guilt-trip me into helping. I didn't know what to say. Finally, I typed me why Jake. Because I need to stop being the guy who takes things that aren't his. And I know that doesn't erase what I did. But I want to be better. I really do. I exhaled slowly, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. For the first time, Jake wasn't just saying words. He was proving it, and maybe, just maybe he actually meant it. A few weeks later, we met up again. This time it wasn't tense. Jake looked different, not physically, but there was something in his demeanor that I had never seen before, a weight that had finally settled on him. I don't expect us to go back to how things were, he said, but I want to fix things. Even if it takes time, I studied him for a long moment. You heard me, Jake. I said I know. He admitted, and I don't want to do that anymore. For the first time, I believed him. I gave a small nod. Okay, I sighed. I'm not saying everything's fine, but I think we can figure it out. A slow, cautious smile spread across his face. Yeah, I'd like that. It wouldn't be perfect, but for the first time. Jake was actually trying, and for now, that was enough.